Now, up to this point, we've learned that str is an ordered sequence of characters, right? It's essentially a piece of text where we can write our names, passwords, paragraphs, and sentences. And strings underneath the hood are stored in memory, as I said, as an ordered sequence of characters. So for example, if I had the string me, then this will be stored in our computer's memory in an order. So M will be stored in a place in memory, and after that place in memory, E will be stored, then the space will be stored, and then M, then E, then space, then M, then E. So if you think of a bookshelf, each one of these is ordered in a different part of the bookshelf, but one after another. And the way we can think about this is like this. The M is stored in location 0, and then E is stored in location 1, and then space is stored in location 2, and so on and so forth. And each shelf now corresponds to a value. So that when we ask the computer, hey, I want you to grab this string, we know that, hey, we're going to look in the shelf 0 to 7. Now, why is this important? Because one of the most useful things you can do with strings is to access different part of a string using its what we call an index. So for example, when you have a string, and let's call this variable or this piece of string selfish. And selfish has me. And I'm going to comment this out just like this. Make sure it's aligned, okay? And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say selfish and then square brackets right here and then type in 0. Now, if I print this and I click run, check that out. I get the letter M. Why is that? Well, using the square brackets, I'm telling the computer, hey, grab the variable selfish, and then from that variable selfish, grab whatever is an index of 0. And what's on that bookshelf of index of 0? Well, the letter M. What if I do 7? What do you think will happen? If I click run, I get E, because on the bookshelf of number 7, that's E. And when I'm getting just selfish, I get the entire string. It's going to say, all right, I'm going to grab from the bookshelf index of 0 all the way to 7. Very, very cool. And this concept we're going to explore throughout the course, and you're going to see why it's important very soon. But using this knowledge, we can do a lot of string manipulation. And Python has this unique feature that we're going to talk about right now that allows us to grab different pieces of text. So let's have a look here. The rule here is when we use square brackets in Python, the first item that we put between the square brackets is what we call the start. The start is, hey, where do you want me to look? In our case, we said we want to look at 0, so we got M. We wanted to look at 7, we got E. But then there's an extra thing that we can do. If we do a colon here, we also have the option to say, hey, where to stop. What does that mean? Well, if I do something, and you know what, let's change this to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just so it's easier to understand. If I do, let's say, 0, colon, 2, and I click run, I get start at 0, end at 2. So I get to grab 0 to 1. Because remember, I'm saying start here, but then stop as soon as you get to bookshelf 2. We don't want that. So if I do 0 to 7, what do you think will happen? Well, I click run, and I get all the way to 6. So in order for us to grab the full string, we have to do 0 to 8. Because there's actually 8 characters here, right? Because we start from 0. If I click run, there you go. Now there's a third thing that we can add here. And this is called the step over. And the step over says, hey, start here, and then step over a few things. So the default is 1 because we're going 1 by 1 through our bookshelf. You see that we get the entire string. But if I add 2 here, it steps over by 2. So I grab 0, then I step over 1, 2, grab 2, then step over 1, 2, grab 4, step over, and so on and so forth. So let me ask you a couple of tricky questions here. What happens if I do this? Is this valid? If I click run, what will happen? Ready to guess? I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This says, hey, start at 1, so that is right here. But then afterwards, stop, well, there's nothing there. So the default is going to say go all the way to the end. I know this is confusing, but hang in there. Practice this often enough, and this will become second nature. Okay, what if I do something like this, where I don't fill the start and do 5 here? What happens now? Ready? I get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way until 5. So it starts as default 0 and goes to 5. Okay, what if I do something like this? 2 semicolons and then 1. If I click run, all right, I get the default behavior. Because it's starting at 0 when there's nothing. It ends whenever the string ends, when there's nothing, and then we're stepping over through it once. All right, but what if we do something like this? What if I do -1 here? This is a tricky one. What will happen? Let's find out. I get 7. In Python, the negative index means, hey, start at the end of the string. So that if I do -2, I get 6. If I do -3, I get 5 because I'm going backwards. And a neat trick that you can do here is if we do semicolon, semicolon, -1, and this is actually quite a common operation, so you just have to memorize this even though it looks weird. It means start, stop, there's no limit here, but I want to step over from the back. So what do you think will happen here? If I click run, did you see that? We get the reverse of the string. So this is a very useful notation if you want to, let's say, reverse an order. And if we want to, let's say, skip by 2, I click run, and you see that we're skipping by 2 now. Now, hopefully your head doesn't hurt with all this notation. You just have to get used to it. It's something quite unique to Python, but it's very, very useful.